Airstream song, cruising to the campsite singing our song. Airstream song, we are the Airstream nerds.
Okay, so here's the beginning. I have the rigid dualies with the rigid mount. As you can see, mount sticks down, the hole's kind of open. The mount actually gets bolted right there where these screws are here, and these screws up there. It gets basically bolted to that cross member. Well, no longer. I'm gonna go ahead and take these old brackets out and the old lights out, and we'll see what we got. Okay, so here's a better look at the old mounting system. You got those two rusty looking bolts right here, which were galvanized. I guess they are not very good galvanized. And these two over here, which are supposed to be stainless steel, I guess. So I gotta pop that little plastic tab, unbolt those 4 screws, and then I can take the backs of these lights off. I have the rigid dualies. We're gonna see what this new light setup looks like. Now make sure you pick the right bracket. This is the driver's side bracket. You can tell because everything's folded towards you and the single screw is on the outside, and it's gonna go up in there like that. So your insert is gonna go on like this, single screw on the inside, basically just like that. All right, we're over here on the passenger side. Those 2 screws right there and this whole bracket right there can come off. And that's where we're going to be putting our new bracket. Okay, right here is a little piece of plastic you want to cut off so you can easily get to that bolt there with a socket. See that corner right there? And basically, it had a little hump here where it came out here and went down here. So all I did was took a diagonal pliers and cut it here and cut it here, and just basically cut the corner out. It makes it so your socket can get on that wrench. Otherwise, you can't get the screw all the way out. The screw hits the edge of the plastic that's there. So I cut that out first, and then basically the bracket goes on those 2 down to that one there. So if you look at it from back here, you can see the bottom brace. The top part of it's up underneath this little rubber stuff that they put in here to protect from water. Now this is your driver's side bracket. It's going to go on basically just like this, and then this bracket will go on back up just like that into its spot. So it essentially goes together like this on the inside. I found that the easiest way to get everything to line up is just finger tight your bolts, get the insert put in, make sure everything is centered and lined up and seated in right. And then first I'm going to tighten the bolts holding the insert in, then I'm going to tighten the top bolts. Make sure when you're aligning it that you pay close attention to this corner. Make sure that you get the whole unit slid closer over onto this corner. You shouldn't see any of the metal of the cutout of the bumper in here. It also pulls it back from this edge a little bit, which you'll get a better alignment when everything's tightened up. If you have it shifted too much this way, this top corner will tend to pull out. There are some modifications for the next round of bracket designs that's going to keep from having to put a spacer in. But right now, the important thing is to make sure that everything is tucked in this way and up nice and smooth before you tighten it all down. Now, once you get everything snugged down, you should end up with a space between the bracket and the place where the screw used to go. So at this time, you have to use a couple of spacers and a nut and a bolt. If you try to squeeze it together, what happens is this corner gets pushed out by the bow of the bumper. For the next version of bracket, they're going to address it by putting shims on the bracket up here, which essentially will tilt the whole thing down, allowing this to seal together better. The most time-consuming part of this install is actually putting the lights on, and it's not because of anything having to do with the M&R stuff. It is the rigid bracket, at least on mine. I don't know if they've changed it in the past couple of years. It's a curved bracket, which makes a lot of sense for pivoting and stuff like that, but if you actually want to have the light pivot in the, put a little bit more of an up angle, a little bit more of an up angle, you want to have the bracket installed like this. If you want to have it a little down angle like that one, which I haven't tightened, it's hanging in there, you need to reverse it so the angle goes the other way. But at least on the inside one, if you want it down, you may need to put a washer or two in between the M&R bracket and the rigid bracket, because when you flip this bracket around, it pulls it closer to the light in order to connect it. Now, it's a weird design, but it works for the rigid stuff, which is why they made this bracket this way. But you can get around it. Just want to let you know that it's easier to flip it around depending on the angle that you want your light. All right, at this point, the driver's side's done. Like I said earlier, the actual brackets are on the rigid brackets are reversed. So this one's one direction, that one's the other direction. That would allow me to angle this light down, which is my wide dispersed light. This one here is my spotlight. That, along with my 40, really throws a wide angle. Of course, it's daylight right now, so I'm going to get the actual aiming and everything done tonight when it gets dark, so I can see the exact cutoffs and everything. But just based on my garage wall, it seems pretty good right now. I would guess that if you haven't done one of these before, you're looking at maybe an hour, hour and a half. Anyway, I'm going to take and do the passenger side now. And the passenger side is essentially the same as the driver's side, so just repeat what you've done here and you have yourself a really nice set of light inserts. I can't get over how finished the bumper on these trucks look. It actually looks real nice with the cutout with the insert in it, so it doesn't just have this big gray bumper here. There's a little bit of texture to it. It looks really cool. Similar to the setup right here with the bumpers, the pads that stick out there. Anyway, enjoy. Hope you learned. Hope you don't have any issues, and if you do, feel free to comment below and ask me some questions. Here they are, all done. Actually, I did aim them a little bit in the garage, so they should be pretty good, but I'm going to wait till it gets dark in a couple of hours and get a good shot of it. Okay, so here's the lights off. There's the headlights all by themselves. There's the addition of the driving lights on off, on, off. Those are actually the inside of the pair. Now I'm going to add the outside pair. Now I'm going to add the 40-inch light bar. And just for kicks and grins, throw some high beam on there. Pretty much can see anything you want. Now for the driving lights that you can see right there. That's the hood of the car there, the truck. I've got the inside lights angled down and out some. And I've got the outside lights angled a little forward and up. That there is the exact pattern that I was looking for. I wanted the headlights to fill in that center part. The wide beam inside lights are filling in the corners that you can't see with just the headlights on. And of course, with all the lights off, there's the 40-inch beam, and there's the outside lights in the fixtures when I'm on. Everything lined up good. The setup is great. I really am happy with it.